Chris Stirewalt joins us now. He is a contributing editor of The Dispatch and senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Chris, welcome tonight. We appreciate you giving us some time.
Good evening.
Let's talk about the impact of Roe v. Wade on tonight's primary. What's driving people to the polls right now? Is it this?
No, so the Democrats, we already saw Tim Ryan in Ohio has rolled up a quick victory. That wasn't much contested. The Democrats are braced for a rough year. Kyle Kondik is exactly right. This is not going to be an easy one for them. What they have to hope is that this will, as it already has, trigger fundraising, but then after that, just be another motivator that in those close races that you can get people to go out and vote. Because very often what happens, there's a defeatist attitude that sets in. If you know that your side is likely going to lose, and Democrats are very likely to lose the House, and the Senate is looking like a tougher hold all the time, if you know that's true, your voters might get discouraged. But if you can put this in front of them, and you heard Chuck Schumer, he wasn't saying maybe it's the decision. He was saying this is the decision. If you can catastrophize this and make it seem like the worst thing possible, maybe you can get those voters to go out in those narrow races.
Let's talk about this Ohio Senate race, Chris. I mean, it is highly contested. It is expensive. I mean, we're talking more than $60 million in radio and TV ads. I mean, highest in the state. How many people are going to be voting for Vance because of former President Trump's endorsement, or how many people are going to be voting for Matt Dolan, the other front runner, for the opposite reason tonight?
Well, the secret in primaries is what voters really want to do is win. What they really want to do is win the general election. And in Tim Ryan, Democrats have it's a tough year, as I said, but they have a pretty good candidate. The best news for Dolan right now, by my lights, two things. Number one, J.D. Vance and Josh Mandel are dividing up the vote in the most populous rural counties. Whereas, so far at least, Dolan has the more affluent suburban districts all to himself. In those counties, he seems to really be running it up. We're still waiting for vote out of suburban Cincinnati down in Hamilton County, and in Dolan's part of the state on the northern tier, Erie County, Lake County. We're still looking for vote in Cuyahoga, lots of vote in Cuyahoga County, where Cleveland is, his home county. So right now, it's a pretty pitched battle and pretty surprising, because I think in the end, yes, Trump's endorsement is a big deal, and Democrats and Trump both want to talk about Trump. I think a lot of Ohio voters want to talk about making sure that they win that seat. Ohio Republican voters want to talk about making sure they win that seat.
Right, because so much is on the line. I mean, it's the balance of power. If Vance wins, does that embolden Trump in these other primaries that we've got coming up in the next 6 weeks?
I have never known Donald Trump to need much emboldening. He will claim victory, whatever happens. We know that's the move. The big tests are still ahead. J.D. Vance, this race has turned out to be a pretty weird thing. If it's close and Trump comes out ahead, yes, it will embolden him. But all roads lead down to Georgia, and Governor Brian Kemp, who is sort of the last stand here. This is the major battle. So we'll be watching here in Ohio. We'll also be watching in Nebraska, the gubernatorial race there. We'll be watching in North Carolina, but all roads lead down to Atlanta and the test down there. So this will give us some cues tonight about what we'll be looking for.
Right now we're watching Georgia. We used to watch Ohio, Chris, because it was a bellwether state. No longer so. I mean, it's decidedly Republican. At what point and why did that change?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the demography. Younger Americans have moved south and west. That has tended to make the South and West a little more democratic. We saw Georgia, Arizona go blue in the last presidential election. Texas has gotten a lot closer because they have a lot of younger voters now. Ohio's demographic picture from a political standpoint is older and whiter than those states. That makes it more Republican. And that's what we've seen, not just in Ohio, but in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and others. As this demographic shift has occurred in the country, these states in the northern tier that used to be swing states or even Democratic-leaning states have now turned into Republican states.
Some other analysis I was reading, Chris, Punchbowl News, they said a new president's party almost always loses in seats subsequent midterm elections. So you've got to add to that inflation, soaring energy prices, the COVID fatigue, frustration over states and the federal government's handling of the pandemic. Does that buoy Republicans come November when they're making these tough decisions? And then I think throw in Roe v. Wade.
I'll do you one better.
Uh-oh.
The average loss of seats for the party in power in the White House, for their party in the first midterm since Ronald Reagan, is 28. So that's more than enough House seats. Republicans only need about 5. So we have seen Barack Obama, Donald Trump, every president except for George Bush, going back to time immemorial because of 9/11 in 2002, has lost a considerable number of seats in their first term. If Republicans just perform up to chalk, up to the expectations of what they'll do, they'll rout the Democrats. What Republicans are thinking about now is, can they take this to 40, to 45 on the issues that you're talking about? They want to talk about, or the smart ones want to talk about inflation. They want to talk about those issues. The challenge for Republicans is, it's a great year. It's a great climate. The president's pretty unpopular. Everything should be going their way, but they want to talk about wacky stuff, right? And they have members who want to talk about wacky things. And they have all of these primaries that are being contested for a relatively small number of voters inside the Republican Party. Most people in Ohio don't care whether it's J.D. Vance or Josh Mandel, which one of them loves Donald Trump more, which one Donald Trump loves more. That doesn't matter to most of them. But Republicans, if they can't stop fighting about this stuff, they'll limit their chances on the upper end of their gains this fall.
Yeah, they want the seat and they want to widen that gap. Chris, good to have you on tonight. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.